Beautiful people are not always good, but good people are always beautiful. Good morning, everyone. Let us continue with chapter number 1 of electrostatics. In the previous class, we have studied about Coulomb's law. Now let us see the similarities and dissimilarities between Coulomb's law and gravitational law. First, let us study similarities. Number 1. Coulomb's law resembles the inverse square law of gravitation. That means both the laws are inversely proportional to square of distances between charges or masses. Number 2. Both the laws gives the value of force. That means Coulomb's law gives force between charges, that is electrostatic force, and gravitational law gives force between masses. Now third point, both act along the line joining the center. Here center of charge for electrostatic force and center of masses for gravitational force. Now let us study the differences. The differences are more important than the similarities. Most important difference is that Coulomb's law is both attractive and repulsive, as there are two types of charges, positive and negative. But gravitational law is only attractive. Second point, in Coulomb's law, constant K depends on the medium, but gravitational constant does not depend on the medium. That is, gravitational constant G is a universal constant. Third difference is that electrostatic force in Coulomb's law is much stronger than gravitational force. We know gravitational constant G is equal to 6.67 multiplied by 10 raised to power minus 11 Newton meter square per kilogram square. And the value for K, that is for air or in vacuum, it is 9 into 10 raised to power 9 Newton meter square per Coulomb square. So electrostatic force is stronger than gravitational force. Now let us study a very important topic, that is Coulomb's law in vector form. Please be attentive. This is very important part and this is one of the important question for board examination. Let us take 2 point charges Q1 and Q2. Let the difference between them be R. I am writing it as mod R. Why mod R? Because I have taken the magnitude of distance. And we know force on Q1 is force on first body with respect to second body, and force on Q2 is force on second body with respect to first body. Both will repel each other, as both of them are positive charges. We want to write it in vector form. We can write two vectors of R, that is from Q1 to Q2. We know displacement is from final to initial. Therefore, from Q1 to Q2, the vectors will be vector R2 minus vector R1. If it is from Q2 to Q1, then we can write vector in the form vector R1 minus vector R2, final minus initial. Now let us find force on first body with respect to second body is equal to k q1 q2 divided by mod r square. We know this is in scalar form. Let us write it in the vector form. How to write it in vector form? Remember what is vector? Vector has magnitude and direction. And for direction, we can take a unit vector. So if you want to give direction, write in the form of a unit vector. Which is that unit vector which is in the direction of q1? Obviously, unit vector of vector r1 minus vector r2. Look in the diagram. It is in that direction. q2 to q1. Vector r1 minus vector r2. You must be remembering how to write a unit vector. Remember, unit vector of A is equal to vector A divided by mod A. So, unit vector of r1 minus r2 is vector r1 minus vector r2 divided by mod r1 minus r2. So, let us write the formula in vector form as follows. Force on first body with respect to second body is equal to k q1 q2 divided by mod r square multiplied by vector r1 minus vector r2 divided by mod r1 minus r2. Now what is the value of mod r1 minus r2? Look in the diagram, it is mod r. So we get the formula k q1 q2 divided by mod r cube multiplied by vector r1 minus vector r2. Very simple. Whatever we have studied, let us just revise them. We know force on first body with respect to second body is equal to k q1 q2 divided by mod r square. This is magnitude. To make it in vector form, we have to show its direction too. To show direction, we have to write in the form of a unit vector. So we need a unit vector of that particular direction, that is towards q1. That is vector r1 minus vector r2. And we write r1 minus r2 in the form of unit vector as vector r1 minus vector r2 divided by mod r1 minus r2. So we get force on first body with respect to second body is equal to k q1 q2 divided by mod r square multiplied by vector r1 minus vector r2 divided by mod r1 minus r2. And we know mod r1 minus r2 is mod r. So force on first body with respect to second body is equal to k q1 q2 divided by mod r1 minus r2 cube multiplied by vector r1 minus vector r2. So this is the vector form of Coulomb's law. Similarly, we can write the vector form of Coulomb's law for force on second body with respect to first body, k q1 q2 by mod r square multiplied by r2 minus r1 divided by mod r2 minus r1. What is this? This is the unit vector of r2 minus r1, because from q1 to q2 the distance r is r2 minus r1. So force on second body with respect to first body is equal to k q1 q2 divided by mod r2 minus r1 cube multiplied by vector r2 minus vector r1. We know mod r1 minus r2 is equal to mod r2 minus r1, which is equal to r. And if we take vector r2 minus vector r1 as vector r21, and vector r1 minus vector r2 as vector r12. Then the equations becomes force on first due to second is equal to 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught multiplied by q1 q2 divided by r raised to power 3 into vector r12, or force on second due to first is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 divided by r raised to power 3 into vector r21. This is Coulomb's law in vector form, and this is very important for board examination. Now the importance of Coulomb's law in vector form. Since unit vectors r12 and r21 are in opposite direction, we can write unit vector r21 is equal to minus unit vector of r12. So force on second due to first is equal to minus force on first due to second. So forces exerted by both the charges are equal and opposite. Secondly, from vector form of Coulomb's law, we see that electrostatic force is a central force. Now let us study the limitations of Coulomb's law. Coulomb's law is not applicable for extended charges. What do you mean by extended charges? Extended charges means very big charges kept so near. We will study about it later. It is applicable only for point charges. We know what point charges are. Even the bigger charges kept very far away are considered to be a point charge. Now the second limitation, Coulomb's law is applicable for rest charges, charges which are not moving. If both charges are in motion, Coulomb's law is not valid. Please note, if one charge is in motion and other charge is at rest, then Coulomb's law is applicable. Listen, only if both charges are in motion at any speed, then Coulomb's law is not applicable. Now principle of superposition. It is very easy. First let us take two charges Q1 and Q2. What is the force on Q2? We know it is force on second with respect to first. Now if we place one more charge Q3, now what is the force on charge 2? It will be force on second with respect to first plus force on second with respect to third. So net force on second charge is the vector sum of all the charges acting on it. If there are 4 charges, net force on second charge will be force on second charge with respect to first plus force on second charge with respect to third plus force on second charge with respect to fourth. Likewise, if there are n charges and we want to find the net force on charge n, then the net force will be the vector sum of force on nth charge due to 1 plus force on nth charge due to 2 plus etc. plus force on nth charge due to n minus 1 charge. Therefore, according to the principle of superposition, if a system contains a number of interacting charges, then the net force on any one charge due to other charges is the vector sum of all the forces exerted on it by all the other charges. The individual forces are unaffected due to the presence of other charges. That means when Q1 and Q2 were together, it had some force of attraction or repulsion. That force will be unaffected even when they are in the presence of other charges. So, according to the principle of superposition, if a system contains a number of interacting charges, then the net force on any one charge due to other charges is the vector sum of all the forces exerted on it by all the other charges. And the individual forces are unaffected due to the presence of other charges. This is the end of today's class. Be good enough to forgive someone, but do not be stupid enough to trust them again. With this thought, let me conclude. Thank you. Have a great day. May God bless you all.